Hello and welcome back to the 100 Jobs Project. I'm your host, Katie. And if you're new around here, we're talking with 100 women about what they do for work, how they got into their fields, how it fits into life. So our guest today is someone I'm so excited to chat with. This is Lisa Morton, who is a holistic interior designer, a certified master of Feng Shui, the owner of Pure Living with Lisa Morton, and the creator of the Intuitive Home Method. She also has her own podcast over at Feng Shui Living. And Lisa, am I forgetting anything?
My book, I just recently authored a book and I'm so excited about. It is called Aligned at Home.
Amazing. Well, we'll definitely link all of that in the show notes. So at any point you're like, I want to, connect with Lisa or do anything, go to the show notes. That's your spot. But Lisa, you're joining us from Indiana today. Is that right?
Yes. It's a beautiful spring day here.
Well, amazing. We're getting all of the spring rainstorms over here in DC. So I'm a little jealous. So just getting to know you a little bit. Well, you mentioned it's a beautiful spring day. We're coming to summer, iced drink season. Are you more of an iced drink gal or do you prefer coffee, tea, beverage of choice, warm and
I am
toasty?
a hot beverage gal. It's funny because I was recently talking to someone about a cold plunge? And I'm like, there's nothing that sounds more awful to me than a cold plunge. Like I love warmth and coziness and put me in a sauna and give me a hot beverage.
A hot beverage in the sauna is next
Yeah.
level. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. No, especially with the cold plunge, I'm with you. I know that so many people talk about there's health benefits, but I, for one, fall in the camp of, okay, men and women are different. All bodies are different. And I don't know. I grew up swimming as well. And so I feel like I had a lot of early morning practices, jumping into cold pools. I'm like, I have done that enough. I don't need any more cold plunges in my life. Buckle up with the sauna and call it a day. Anyway, I digress. But as we're coming into the summer season too, do you have an ideal summer getaway?
An ideal summer getaway, really?
Yeah.
I don't. My getaway is a staycation. I love to find time during the summer to slow down. We live on a rural property. We have 15 acres of woods and there's a pond and it's beautiful. We named our property Serenity because it's just so nice and beautiful. And while we go during the weeks and we're busy, finding that time on the weekends in the summertime when it's so beautiful and go hiking in the woods and just sit outside and read a book, that's the dream.
Oh, truly. 15 acres of serenity sounds like bliss. And if you can find time to enjoy it, you absolutely have to. Now, when you are traveling, do you tend to prefer hotels or a rental property?
I'm a big hotel person.
Okay.
Because I'm very sensitive to my environment. I see things in my environment, right? I experience things differently just with my work. I'll share a story. I was staying at an Airbnb once and it was great. It was a cute house, but I don't use any synthetic fragrances in my home. It's kind of a scent-free home other than diffusing essential oils and natural. I literally have lilies on my kitchen counter right now and they're filling the whole room with scent, but I don't like any of the manufactured fragrances. So I'm laying in bed and then these sheets were lovely, but they were so heavily scented.
Oh.
I kept waking up just from the scent. I kept waking up from it and I really didn't sleep. And so there's been a few instances like that. There's certain hotels that I always stay at and I know I don't have to worry about the scent. I know just what to expect and how I'll have a better time if I know what to expect and how I can prepare my space.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I was curious about this because obviously you do work in interiors and design. And so I thought, are you staying with the consistent hotel experience where you're not going to get crazy scented sheets? Or do you really like finding inspiration in new properties?
There also is the side of me, if I'm traveling, I love the idea of someone making my bed and picking up my towels. I don't want to have to do that.
Yes, I agree. And I think that a lot of the world in the past few years has moved that way. Like, wait, we were all really, really excited about rentals for a second, but we're doing our own chores and we're paying someone else to do our own chores. So I feel ya. Now, this is a bit of a question that's kind of selfish. I just finished my grad school doing some home projects. I'm curious if you have any tips for picking the right shade of white.
Oh, the right shade of white. Ooh, this is a really good question. White can be very difficult. White can be one of the most difficult to select because if you pick the wrong color and you're matching it with something, it can make one look dirty.
Yeah.
So really, I think it's really be mindful of the other colors in the space. Do they lean cool or do they lean warm? I actually have a free 15-minute discovery call. So, I mean, if you want to schedule in my calendar, we can pick out some whites for
Okay,
you.
perfect.
But I have some favorite ones I love, but white can be really difficult. White isn't just white. There's no such thing as just white anymore.
No.
There are 5 million whites, and also depending on the paint manufacturer you use.
Okay, paint manufacturer, checking to see space around you, and then cooler tones, lighter tones. I feel like those are some good baseline tips.
Yeah, yeah. Take a look and see if you have red. If you have red in this room, does it lean cool or does it lean warmer? Does it lean
Mm-hmm.
bluish or is there a reddish orange undertone? The same with your other colors and just see. And then that will help you guide as you're looking at the array of whites. You want to stick in that same tone. So stick with a white that leans a little warmer. There's one from Sherwin-Williams that I'm thinking about, and it's called Marshmallow,
Okay.
which is a good one. Or you can lean a little cooler.
Sounds delightful. I mean, anything, you name something marshmallow, and I'm both hands in. That's
I know. How'd you
amazing.
get that job?
Truly. That and the OPI nail polish color namers. I think with that one, it may actually be like the founder of the company that names them. I don't know. I saw something on TikTok. Don't quote me on that. Could be fake news, but just fun jobs for picking those names. Now, the last thing that I'd love to chat about, just to get to know you, is either what is in your work bag or at your workspace.
Well, I always have multiple tape measures. In fact, I get made fun of with how many I have. Giant tape measure, I have the little ones. Plus, then also so many different manufacturers or suppliers give out a tape measure with their name on it. And you never know when you're going to need one. So I always have about 1 million tape measures in my bag, sketch pad, paper, markers. I like to doodle and get creatives. And I have a notebook that I keep with me that's kind of a notebook journal. So I keep my schedule and things in it and client notes, but then I have space for like doodling and just getting creative. And I think that's important during the daytime to just take a minute here and just sketch out an idea roughly. So I always have that in there as well. But always 1 million tape measures.
That's so funny. That's one thing that I would never in a million years throw in my work bag. Are you mostly working like out and about, or are you doing a lot from home?
So I transitioned my business about 5, 6 years ago when COVID happened. And I had been doing traditional interior design, going to everyone's homes. And we relocated to where we live now. And I'm thinking, well, okay, how am I going to do this? There isn't a design center. There isn't a resource center here. I'd have to drive a few hours to the closest one. I don't know any contractors. I was nervous.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened. And then I was like, well, there's this thing called virtual design that so many people do. Maybe I should look into it. And then with everyone working from home, I mean, my mother, who's in her late 70s, early 80s, learned how to use Zoom. So I'm like, okay, if she can use Zoom, my clients, I can guide them into using Zoom. And now it just works beautifully. 9% of my clients are all virtual, and I work with clients all over the world, in Australia and the UK, and I have a client in Hawaii right now. So it's really, really fun to get to meet all these different people.
Amazing. And definitely interesting to hear how so many people's work and businesses have transitioned during the pandemic. It really did shift so many things in the world and opened up so many doors that, make it really cool to do work with people all around the world. Is there anything that you keep at your workspace that you can't live without?
Oh my gosh. So I'm kind of one of those geeky rock collectors. So I always have cool rock specimens on my desk that I'll play with while I'm chatting with someone. I do a lot of Zoom calls with things like that. My favorite lip balm, I have this peppermint lip balm I'm obsessed with. Yeah, just fun things like that. And then I always do have about 1 million beverages. At the end of the day, I have to collect all my glasses and everything and coffee mugs and take them downstairs.
Yes, that's the true signal of how the day is over, is when you finally move all of the glasses out. Well, thank you. It's so fun to get to know you and get to hear just a little peek of what you do and how you incorporate everything into your life. I am so curious how you initially got interested in interior design and feng shui. Did those things kind of come at the same time? Were they separate interests that grew together?
It's funny because when I was young, I loved being creative, and I would take my mom's Better Homes and Gardens magazine and I would sketch in things and I would improve the images. I would draw wallpaper on and everything. I initially went to school for communications because I didn't really think design was a career.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, this was a long time ago. Plus, I lived in a rural area and I was like, this isn't, I don't really know what I do, right? Work at
Yeah.
a furniture store? I don't know. And so took what I thought was the smart path, but then I had this just sense of wanting more creativity. And so I had moved and I found a school with a great design program and dove into interior design. And it's funny because I know I was meant to do this. And while I learned a lot from the communication study and it kind of brought me full circle with my book and my podcast and everything, it's been really fun. And so I did just start out doing traditional interior design like you'd expect. I worked on residences as well as some commercial spaces. And then early in my career was really fun. Stumbled into what I thought was my dream job. I got to design private jet interiors.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah, I did that for several years. I worked for a company doing that and I got to travel the world and I met outrageous people and used some of the most elaborate, outrageous materials.
So was that pretty fresh out of your undergrad or?
Yeah, I'd
Okay,
only been out of school, I think, like a year and a half or 2 years when I got that job.
gotcha.
And I really just kind of, it was just aligned. Everything just aligned and it just happened beautifully.
Yeah.
You think you learn things in school, but it's in real life when you learn a lot more. And then also, it was interesting clients that wanted really unique, really special, outrageous materials and finishes and trying to figure out, everything has to be very flame retardant in a plane. Everything has to be very light. We need a lot of soundproofing because we want to reduce the noise. Plus, it's in a tube floating, going through the sky. And so it isn't as easy as just picking out your dream fabrics and putting them on the walls and dream materials on the tables and seats and things. There's a lot that goes into it.
Fascinating. Did you have to relocate for that job?
I did not. It was in the city. It was where we lived at the time. There was a beautiful completion center that specialized in extreme, custom, beautiful finishes. Literally, the carpets in these planes we ordered from a company, and there was a man who would stand on a platform and tuft every single loop using a machine with his hand, every single loop for the carpet. I mean, these were like
Wow.
$30,000 carpets.
I have to ask, was this like in LA or near LA?
No.
That's where my mind jumps.
Well, most of these type of completion centers are roughly located in the center of the country. It's
Okay.
a great place to fly over, stop, do your maintenance, do your upkeep, and then head on to your destination.
So you were able to stay in the Midwest and still do that.
Yeah.
No, that is really cool, really niche. I have a handful of friends who work in like defense contracting, building, selling, doing whatever with airplanes. And so it's really fun to hear a little bit about the fun side of airplanes.
Fun
I
side.
should
It was
say.
funny because my husband worked in that industry. At the same time, I worked in the luxury jets, and I'm like, mine are better than yours.
Yes, I think they definitely were. No, that's incredible. I mean, to start thinking like, okay, I'm going to go into communications, maybe have a career there, and then be able to just transition into design and immediately have a really unique experience like that is cool. How long did you go down the communications path before you figured out that you could switch over and make a career doing
It was
design?
a year and a half. I mean, I had the student radio station that was horrible. Oh my gosh. But it was super fun. And I enjoyed it. I definitely think no matter what steps you take in life, you learn, right? It may not have turned out the way you thought. It may not have been what you end up doing. But every step you take brings you knowledge that you can always take forward. And I think that's important to remember.
So while you were in school, did you do internships or anything to start getting experience? Or were you really just getting your degree and then dipping your toes into the job search?
I'm one of those people, I'm just like, I love to work. I'm kind of like a go-getter person. Like if I want to get it done, I'm going to get it done. And so I just worked really hard and then dove in and tried to connect with the right people. I think connections are so important no matter what industry you're in. And so I found an internship really quickly and my first job pretty quickly and then kind of morphed from there.
So was your first job out of school wasn't that jet job? You were doing something else?
No, I actually worked for, I swear, the woman that was in the Devil Wears Prada. She was not very nice. And I learned about the type of designer. She was well known, successful, people respected her, but to her staff, it was a learning curve. And I learned about the type of designer I didn't want to be.
Sometimes, I don't know, I think that there's so much pressure and emphasis, especially when you're early in your career, to like look up to leadership and learn from them. So I think it's really intuitive that you were able to be like, she is someone that I do not actually want to be like, rather than thinking like, this is the end all be all, what I have to evolve into. Because sometimes you have those leaders early on in your career, and that kind of sets the tone for how you think you should act and behave. So
definitely,
a lot of, good on you for not thinking that. And then for going and finding something else that was way cooler. I mean, it's super interesting to hear about jets and everything. I'm guessing you have NDAs for every jet that you worked on. You can't tell us any of the cool people.
There are people in prison now that I work.
Okay. I mean, that tracks a little bit. Some white collar financial crime in there.
It was always the American clients that were kind of demanding and not so friendly. We would travel around the world, and you'd go to Tel Aviv, and the most kind client would invite you to his home for dinner. I mean, it was mind blowing. Some of the experiences I had. Always the international clients were so nice and excited and happy you were there to dive into this project.
It's also cool because I don't tend to think of design as something that you would end up traveling a lot for. So interesting that you found that niche. Were you mostly traveling to like visit clients, or were you traveling to like deliver said jets when they were done?
So most of the time it was speccing out. So it would be maybe a 2-year process of from when you start speccing out the aircraft to, and it was the entire aircraft, we did the interior, but also all the electrical stuff, the exterior paint scheme, I mean, everything. And so we would spec out everything and have multiple rounds of meetings. So we would travel typically to wherever they were at the time.
And it sounds like you did that for a little while. And then where did you shift from there?
So I did that for about 7 years. And then I realized that what I thought was my dream job maybe wasn't my dream job. It was great until it wasn't.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful experience. Again, I learned so much. But it got to a point where I realized I devoted my entire life to this work. I would go in on a Tuesday and they'd say, go home and pack your bags. You're leaving in 3 hours to go to Paris. Okay. And that's great once in a while, but not all the time. There was so much travel. There was just such high expectations for some of these projects and these clients. Plus, my own perfectionism started showing up. And, the thought of me doing something wrong or entering the number of the fabric pattern wrong and we get the wrong thing in and like a mistake was crippling to me. It got to be really bad. And so I just got to a point where I'm like, this can't go on. I was overcome with stress and anxiety and overwhelm and just depressed because I'm like, what's wrong with me? This isn't who I am. It got pretty ugly. And so I really hit this space of burnout. But in the end, it was really worth it. It was nice. It was difficult. It was a rebirth for me to really decide like what's important for me, to really explore who I am, what I am about, what's important in life, and the type of person I wanted to be. So I did a lot of self-exploration. And during this time, I was doing all the things to help my physical body, my mental health, the therapy, the yoga, the meditation, the walking every day. I altered my diet. Like, what else can you do, right? I'm checking all the boxes.
You handle burnout really well.
Well, there were some days, let me tell you, I was ugly crying on the floor.
No, but I mean, ultimately, it sounds like you were taking all the steps to say, okay, I need a change. And you're changing, everything that you can to make yourself and your life more positive.
And it was sad too. I'd also just gotten married the year prior. And so my new husband was like, I had this wife who was just a wreck and I felt lost. There was a lot of shame for having to leave my job and not being able to cut it. But it turned out really beautiful. And then I started exploring different things. We had moved to a new city and kind of a new, fresh start. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? And so I started my own design firm. I started doing a more traditional approach to residential design. And at that time, I started also exploring my home environment because it was photo shoot ready, beautiful. But
Yeah.
I was realizing through all these other practices that I was doing, and I was starting to study a holistic approach to health and well being, as well as your environment. I was like, oh my gosh. And all these light bulbs started going off about how my space wasn't supporting me. I think back to when I was overcome with stress and anxiety and I wasn't sleeping at night. Well, I had a red headboard.
Mm-hmm.
It was a beautiful fabric, and I made this headboard. It was beautiful. It was great, but no wonder I wasn't sleeping. I didn't know then what I know about the impact of color. It was really powerful to start exploring this work and learning about it. And then I dove into starting to study feng shui because I started just trying a few things around my space and couldn't believe the impact it was having. And then fast forward, and now I have like 4 different certifications in it. And I became a master teacher about 2 years ago. So I
Yeah.
eat, sleep, and breathe this work. And I think it's really powerful. And I see this as the future of the design world. It's great to make things pretty and make them beautiful and functional. But I think so many future generations want to know, how is this going to affect me and my family? How is that pattern, that color, the lighting, what's the carbon footprint? Like they want to know more about these things in their home. It's not just about making it pretty anymore.
So is this where the holistic interior design comes into play? Can you tell me a little bit about how holistic interior design is different from traditional interior design?
It's really it's kind of like a holistic health, right? It's looking at the entire space. How is it supporting you or how is it not, right? As a traditional interior designer, you might go in and redo their bathroom and then
Okay.
you leave, right? And then maybe a couple years later, they'll call you and they have you come and redo their kitchen, which is great. But it's important, even if we're doing small projects, to look at how things flow throughout, how the colors are working together, right? Instead of just doing one powder bath, one certain color, how is it going to affect the other bathrooms or the other rooms? And really looking at it holistically. Also looking at all different facets, not just a sofa to sit on, but does it feel comfortable? Is it
Mm-hmm.
relaxing? Does it have fabric that makes you feel good, right? So it's kind of just zooming out.
No, I really like that. And at the end of the day, I think that's what everyone wants for their home is a space that really flows together and makes you feel comfortable and relaxed and able to perform at your best, regardless of what you're doing. Is this something that you feel like you kind of personally evolved your philosophy on, or did you go out and say, you know what, this makes sense for me? I want to do some certifications or research on this part of the design field.
I know it was definitely just my own calling
Yeah.
because I was even nervous when I started getting into this work. I'm like, what are my design friends going to think? And they kind of joked at first and they called me the crunchy designer. I'm like, I don't care. That's who I am. But you know what? They're also supportive. And every different type of design has its own niche and its own clientele. And I know there's people out there that need this work. I work with a lot of people that are going through things.
Okay.
So it might be the wonderful things, growing their family, starting their dream job, starting whatever. On the flip side, I have a lot of people going through some of those more difficult things in life: divorce, illness, loss of a family member,
Mm-hmm.
those heavy things. So I really value these connections and being able to help people move through these and have a space that supports them during this.
Yeah. And I am a big believer that our homes and the spaces that we live and work in carry energy to them. And if we're able to hopefully evolve some of that negative energy from times into a more positive place, our lives and our persons are going to be better overall.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people your home is telling you who you are and what you're about, and it's telling you who to be tomorrow. You can think of your home as almost like a giant vision board,
Okay.
right? And when you think about that, like, oh, are all those things supporting me or are they bringing me down?
Yeah.
Are they sending me down the right path of where I want to go?
Well, I'm glad that I'm having this conversation with you now that I've just finished grad school because I have some work to do in my house. But it's such a fun, interesting space to be in. From what little I know about feng shui, I feel like it probably evolves really, really nicely into this holistic sense. Can you tell me a little bit about feng shui and the different levels of certification you have in it?
Feng Shui is an ancient practice over 4,000 years ago. It was first documented in southern China, and it is really an art and a science of arranging your space. Now, people often think just arranging furniture, but I look deep into the property, what's going on around your home. Even if you live in a condo or an apartment, we still want to know what's going on, right? If you have a home, do you have a mountain behind you, some trees, or a pond or lake off to the side? We need to understand that. And then we go in and we look at the floor plan. And I ask about a million questions. So, like so many other things, Feng Shui has morphed or shifted over time into different sects or schools that have slightly different focuses. I practice what's a blend. It's called instinctive Feng Shui. And it is a blend of form school, which is kind of like the OG approach to Feng Shui. And then it has a healthy dose of a modern approach too, because we do live in a modern world. Like we're on a computer here. We need to understand that how we use modern things in our homes. Plus, we're a melting pot of people and living together now. And then there's also in this specific style of Feng Shui, a healthy dose of intuition, because I've always just been very intuitive. And for me, it was interesting studying this because I was able to give a word to sensations I was feeling. I would walk in somewhere and be like, I sense it needs something, but I don't know what. Now I know.
Really cool. I think I read a book a handful of years ago, and they had you map out your home and the direction that everything is sitting in all of your different corners. Do you get into like the different corners of people's homes from a feng shui sense, or is that something that you kind of leave behind with the type that you practice?
So there's different approaches, right? Different schools or sects. And no matter what you practice, it's like yoga. There might be vinyasa or hatha or whatever.
Sure.
But the goal is to get your body moving and to get energy flowing through your home. So we might approach slightly different. Instead of using the directions, I use what's called the 3-gate method for applying that map and mapping out your home. It's just a different approach. I think knowing some of the directions is important, but mostly it falls into your specific homes. I like to clarify. While there are fun, great tips, and like my podcast is just like 20 minutes of quick tips, implement these today, right? Like quick, easy things you can do. There's also a time and a place to dive really deep if you want significant change in your home. So say you live in a ranch style home, a single story home, and you have 2 dogs, a child and a child on the way.
Yes.
Right? And your goals are X, Y, and Z, and you and your husband both work from home. While your friend lives in a 2-story home with no kids, no partner. She goes to work every day and has totally different goals, right?
Yeah.
So you use your space differently. You move about your space differently. Your spaces are set up differently. So it's important that we map out and look at your specific space to really get those big shifts that you're looking for in life. But again, the great tips, I mean, do the tips, do the fun things. If they resonate, go for it.
Again, big believer in anything that resonates is probably, something you should explore. So,
but I will say this, there are some kooky things out there. And if it sounds bizarre, don't do it. Like a client that was like, somebody told me to put rice on the back of my toilet. And I'm like, I mean, I get there's a weird, there, it isn't just a collection of tips or random things to do. There's a method and a reason why we might tell you to do something, but that specifically, I get it, but it's bizarre. The interior designer in me is like, if I walked into someone's house and saw rice on the back of their toilet, I would just burst out laughing, and I would never want that. There are other things we can do that just make a lot more sense and are just a lot more reasonable for a bathroom. So if you read something and you're like, that just sounds bizarre, don't buy into it.
Nice to have a healthy dose of what is practical and not really silly. It sounds like, too, with your business in general, after you left this jet job, you started your own design firm. You grew and evolved your own really method of holistic interior design, added some feng shui certifications, and it sounds like you've really just kept that business going. Am I missing anything there? Did you have any other job changes in there?
Oh gosh, no. I started my design business in 2010. So it's been, just morphing. I came out with my book. I started my podcast a while back. I started teaching. There's different, it's shifted a little bit, but it's all just, I don't know, just flowing, and it works. And I'm so grateful for the clients I meet, the people I meet, and working with them and helping them. I love the aha moments that we have. It's so special.
As you were first getting started on your own, how did you really gain clients and start to evolve your services?
I forced myself. Now, again, I moved to a city. I knew no one.
Okay,
I had family there, but I didn't have any friends,
sure.
anyone to really connect with in that manner. And so I forced myself to go to 3 networking meetings a week.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, it got really old really fast. And sometimes I wouldn't want to go,
Yeah,
but I gained a lot of connections and I also gained long term clients from that. You sit there in this networking meeting and everybody stands up and introduces themselves, and you're like, this is a waste of time,
yeah,
right? But sometimes the things did come to fruition and I would get great projects. And I remember one of my favorite experiences was I did a talk at a public library. They asked me to come in and do a talk. And so I talked about current design trends. And
mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, this isn't going to get me anything. Why am I doing this? Well, whatever. I'll just do it. And wouldn't you know, 2 years later, this woman called me. And I
Wow,
walk into her house and I sit down and she produces the notes that she had taken during the talk and my business card. And it turned out to be one of my biggest projects.
wow.
You
Two
never know.
years later, that's
Yeah.
a true full circle moment. Really impressive that you were able to push yourself out of your comfort zone to go to a lot of those events because you're right. They can be uncomfortable, but if you do what you can to make the most of them, you never know what's going to come.
I mean, that job was so fun, and they were the nicest people, the nicest clients. She was actually a retired economics or family consumer science teacher. And
Uh-huh.
so the whole crew would show up at her house and she'd have baked goods. I mean, they're just
Amazing.
the kindest, most sweet people that you want to work for. You want to do a really good job. And so yeah, that was fun.
What an amazing experience. Now, it sounds like today you do individual consults, you host your podcast, you speak at events, you host workshops, you publish a book. What really led you to where you are today?
Oh my gosh. I think it just starts unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew I wanted to do more beyond just consultations. I wanted to be able to teach some people to take on this work because you don't have to have studied, things for years to be able to implement things into your home. 3 times a year, I teach an interior design basics class with just those foundational things like how big of a rug do I buy for my dining table, or
Mm-hmm.
what height do I hang the pendant light over my island? I guide people through those practical
Okay.
things, and then I also have a feng shui basics class. I'm putting together a certification course for my intuitive home method. I think it's just navigating and working with clients and see what's working for them, what they need, how can I fill that need. Plus, I also am just kind of a workaholic. And when you love what you do, you just want to do it all the time. So Friday night, I'm creating a download.
Really special to find something that you're so passionate about that it doesn't always feel like work.
Yes, I will say, big lesson, probably a major lesson I've had in my career is especially working for myself. I went through a phase years ago where I hated billing my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a bookkeeper who I was working with, and we would get into all these discussions slash arguments because I would like shave $10 off a client's invoice or
Yeah.
$20 here. And one of my mentors, I had a talk with her one time, and she's like, here's the thing. People know you're an interior designer and they know that's it's not like buying groceries. Like they're prepared to pay you what you're worth and to pay for a job well done.
Yeah.
So keep in mind that $10 or $20 you're shaving off their bill probably doesn't mean a lot to them. But to someone else who doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, $10 or $20 does mean a big difference. So I really, after that, it was a light bulb moment. And I started really sticking to my pricing and being very fair. And then I would donate a portion of my income every month to a local charity, typically an animal rescue.
Yeah.
And it helped me find that peace that I was looking for.
That's a really special lesson learned and definitely something that, I will probably keep in mind moving forward. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about your book. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired it and just how you hope it connects with readers?
There's so many different schools or sects. And I remember when I read one of the first feng shui books ever, I'm reading it and I'm thinking, this is great. I'm really excited, but I'm a little confused. And then I
Mm-hmm.
read another book that said something totally different. Another book, right? Because everyone has their own approach. And I was always thought, this is so confusing. I need to make it easy for people. So my goal was to explain some of those differences and make it really digestible, really easy. So I wrote the book. The first couple chapters are kind of memoir-ish. I mean, I talk about the ugly part of my career and
Mm-hmm.
how I worked through that. I mean, it was how it was great, but then I hit burnout and how I found this work, because I think going through that ugly time in my life where I was just overcome with stress and anxiety and everything, I had to go through that to be able to help the people I help now. Right. And so I share about that in the book. There's a few very honest moments, and then it's really digestible content and some experiments for you to take on, some journal prompts if you like to journal, just a lot of really good information. There's even a chapter for your pets because I'm an animal lover. So that
Amazing.
was fun to put in there.
I think that's also a really important aspect if you do have pets of figuring out your space too, because you need something that is functional for your pets. You also want something that is hopefully beautiful and blends in with the rest of your home. So,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, if you have a pet that's anxious or overwhelmed easily, be mindful of what's around. It's just like people or children, right? We want to
Yeah.
make sure they feel supported and grounded, and then makes life easier.
Well, I cannot wait to check out your book. I didn't have time to before we chatted, but like I said, I'm a hobbyist now that I'm done with grad school.
I
Next
love
on
it.
my list. And congratulations again on publishing it.
Thank you.
That is so amazing.
I tell everyone, if you've ever possibly thought of writing a book, do it. It was
Mm-hmm.
one of the most wonderful experiences I had. I had a wonderful coach. If anybody needs a writing coach, I'd be happy to connect you. But she just made sense of a lot. I wrote chapters that never made it in the book, but it was
Mm-hmm.
really healing and really great for me to process and explain different parts of my work. So it was wonderful. And I actually am toying with a second book idea. So we'll see.
Already, I love it.
Yeah.
So you are juggling a lot of things. Can you walk me through what a typical workday looks like for you? Like, what time are you waking up? What does your morning look like? What does your workday look like? What are you doing off the clock?
My day is never really the same.
Okay.
Especially this past year, coming out with my book. I just went on a book tour in Toronto, around Canada, and I've had different events all over, which has been really fun, but it's made my schedule a little wonky. But I'm up about 6 a.m., 6:30 every day, and I have a little quiet time because I am a workaholic. And because I love to work in the evenings, on the weekends, I devote that time to myself in the morning. I take my dogs out. We go on a walk around the property and just have that slow time. After that, I exercise almost every day. I think that's so important for your health, your well-being, to just move your body. And that sets up my day for success. So I typically don't do any appointments, any calls, anything before 10 a.m. because that is my time. Yes, I might go till 8 o'clock at night. So my day just shifts a little bit, but it works well for me. It works well for my body and how I do things. I'm one of those people, my brain works really well in the evenings.
Okay.
So I might break, make dinner, clean up from that, and then I go back to work because I'll have like really great ideas about 8 o'clock. I go up to my office, I turn on the lights, I light a candle, and I'm sitting there doing my thing. And so that I think when you can find those times in your day and then align your personal energy with what you want to do, that can be really smart and really helpful.
Now, during the day, are you typically, I mean, it sounds like from time to time you'll do podcast interviews, but are you doing a lot of client work at that point?
Certain days of the week I devote to clients. If I'm doing a full feng shui review for someone, it might take several days to get through because I
Mm-hmm.
map everything out, I lay everything out, I review it, and then I like to sit on a little bit. So I might work on another project. I might prep a podcast episode. I might prepare for a class. I probably teach a class. Well, I have a few that run consecutive weeks, right? So anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. Then I also do just a fun free class on my website called Color Mastery that you can do. I do that once a month. So I have a lot of different randomness.
Okay.
I don't have a very good set schedule.
Yeah.
It can be tricky. I've had to navigate that to set up systems and routines. And I think that's really the key.
Most of your client work now is online, so you're not always traveling from place to place, looking at
No,
people's
and
homes.
some people want me in their home, and I
Yeah.
get it. But I've
Yeah.
done this so long, I've been able to read spaces. You send me a floor plan, and I might ask for specific photos. I know those key areas to look. and I can understand how they're relating to one another. I can sense the energy even just from the photos. And so some people are like, oh my gosh, how can you be, 10 hours away from me and understand my house so well? But it's just experience and being trained to look at it with a different set of lenses. So it's really great. I send them an intake form. They send me their floor plan, whether they have the builder drawings or just even a hand sketch will do. And then I request some things and we go from there, and I give them all the juicy details.
Sounds like an incredible process.
It is. It's really fun, and it's fun to hear the exciting things that happen. People are always excited afterwards. Oh, I can't wait to do this. And then we're going to buy a new rug for that and all this. And it isn't always, I will never tell anyone they have to remodel their home. That's not what we're doing here. Unless you want to, I'm happy to help you make sense of it. But oftentimes it isn't even buying anything. It's simply shifting things. Or I tell people to shop your own home. A lot of people have things, a certain element that we need in another room. And if you can shift it, then it's free.
Love it. Love a free, design shift. So you're doing a lot of work. What do you typically do to unwind?
I go outside. And out to Serenity, and I just walk with the dogs and hear the birds. And I'm a big believer. A little fresh air, a little sunshine, and a big glass of water cures all. So if you need some time to unwind, and sometimes in the afternoon, about 2-3 o'clock, I will just go out, take the dogs out to go to the bathroom and do like a lap around the house, just reset. I'm at my desk a lot. I'm on a Zoom call a lot, or doing something, and we need to step away from the technology and reconnect with nature and reconnect with the earth and fresh air. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. And also, speaking of things that are free, a little bit of fresh air, a glass of water, a little stretch of your legs, usually free, and a great way to really reset the vibe in your body.
Yes. And then our spaces in our bodies, right? It's all reciprocal. So our space feeds off our body, and our body feeds off our space. So if you can think about that, I always, before I take that little break, I might pick up the glasses from my desk or throw away any paper. So when I come back, it feels just a little bit reset.
A little freshened up. I really like that. Now, I would be remiss, and this wouldn't be a career-focused podcast if we didn't talk a little bit about salary. From my own research, it sounds like salaries vary really, really widely. If you are maybe new in the field or fresh out of school, it sounds like you could work for a firm making around K, but you could, stretch that up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars ranges. Does that sound reasonable given your experience?
Well, that's the thing I love about design. I was invited to a design school not too long ago to talk, and there's such a variety. I actually recently had someone ask me, oh, is AI going to take over interior design? I'm like, oh my gosh, do you want a computer designer? I want a human. I think there's something about that human touch to really make it special and make it connect with you. I worked on airplanes. I worked with some yacht designers too. There are people that design retail stores. There are people that, work solely on homes. I designed some yoga studios years ago, right? There are so many different spaces to design. I remember when I was in school, there was a path. You go down the commercial design path or you go down the residential design path. And I thought there were two paths and that's it. There is a huge world of interior design out there. So I say, go for that. I think you have to think about what you want your workday to look like, in addition to the financial part, right? Of course, when I did aircraft design, I did very well financially.
Sure.
I also was never home to spend my money, so I saved a lot. And starting my business, there was a rough time at the beginning. It was very difficult. I mean, I took jobs that I didn't want to take on because I had to. I think being an entrepreneur, you have to be ready for it. You have to be prepared to be an entrepreneur and all that entails. There's something nice about just being able to go to a job and clock in, clock out, and leave. But I think thinking about what you want your day to look like. I knew from day one, I didn't want to be doing commercial design, sitting in a big office with cubicles doing CAD drawings all day. I would not be okay with that.
Yeah.
I need to get up. I need to move. I want to sprawl out. When I was even doing residential design, I would sometimes go out on my back deck and just sprawl out with all these fabrics and finishes. just to get outside and get different lighting. I loved going around to different clients' homes. So I think it's important to think about how you want your day to look.
No, that is fabulous advice. And thank you again so much for coming on the show, for telling me about your life and your career and what you do. Like I said, I can't wait to check out your book. But my final question for us today is, you just think about your life holistically. What does success look like for you?
Success for me is just truly being happy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I had my dream job, I was struggling thinking about leaving, and I was really overcome with stress and worry about it. And I had a boss that told me, Lisa, no job is worth your happiness. And I didn't believe her at the time. Now I believe her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. And I love how simple and cut and dry it is happiness. Well, Lisa, I wish you success and happiness wherever life takes you. And thank you again for coming on the show today. That wraps us up for this week. And we will be back next Wednesday with another interview. Like I said, I will link everything of Lisa in the show notes. And if you have any questions for me or want to find me, you can find us at 100jobsproject.com or on Instagram at the 100 Jobs Project. If you want to support the show, leave us a review. Take a screenshot, share it with your friends, and can't wait to see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye.